So hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of 10 Questions About Cloud podcast. Today we have MICHAEL REN with us. Welcome, MICHAEL.
Hi.
So I always use the first question just to introduce yourself. So basically who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Michael. I stayed in Ohio, here in the US. So in the past more than 20 years, right, I'm working on almost every field regarding IT, right? So all the way starting from a programmer and then to do the service engineer, IT infrastructure, and then architect, consultant, and then become the manager, become the the enterprise architect. So my focus will always be like most of people, right? Data and infrastructure. I mean, definitely every one of those. I mean, moving from the premise infrastructure to the cloud. So and happy to share my experience and my thought today with you guys.
Wow, really interesting your career. You started from really low and then you go up, up, up.
Well, that's everybody in IT, right? It's a journey, right, for everybody. I mean, for whatever direction you choose, and you feel you're learning, right? Like this cloud environment. I mean, never be a stopper, right? So, I mean, as most of people have the IT, I mean, experience, they would love to learn, okay, to make things easier and faster, quicker, and to make their life easier. So I would think especially today, like talking about cloud, right? That's really to try to building some, I mean, infrastructure and the service so that everybody can really enjoy to focus on their application instead of the infrastructure or the environment.
Wow, cool. I'm curious now about your cloud journey. When was the first time you heard about cloud and you implemented something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I remember before I joined Microsoft, like it was like 2009, right? I was focused a lot on SharePoint, which is back to that time, in my opinion, one of the best, the hottest technologies worldwide. And of course, I mean, people are talking about how to standing up their virtual machine to, to building a SharePoint server and database in a smaller environment so they can, I mean, explore, okay, or even develop a lot of features and then build on top of that. And back to the time, there's a concept called SharePoint Online. So that really drew my attention because I was, I mean, spending a lot of time before that to, try to standing up my own environment, try to learn, try to developing a lot of like applications on top of it. And the SharePoint Online is really a great idea back to that time to say, hey, forget about infrastructure and just focus on the service you can buy, and then to building your application to based on your business requirement, right? So I think from that time until now, yeah, starting to spend more time on the online, starting all the way from the application itself. Like SharePoint Online sooner become like Exchange Online, and then they have the business online, I mean, like Office Online, and also Microsoft starting Azure. And I was one of the first group of people to really look into the Azure environment. And back in time, it's not, not clear, right? So how much and how convenient the online service can provide for us. But then I started to, put some work on, not just learning, but also building on something on top of that. And as we moving everything, I mean, so quickly, be off of the on-premise environment, I found out I starting a couple of projects, I mean, using the hybrid, environment, which is really a migration, right? Migration from the local environment and your database, your app servers, your applications. And then moving away from your local environment to be like on the cloud. But back to the time, a lot of environment is not purely supported, right? A lot of features not purely supported. So, I mean, spend a lot of time looking into the hybrid environment. And like half of them are on-premise, half of them are online. How do you balance? How do you, based using, I mean, get the out of the best back to that time, I mean, based on the features, I mean, the cloud technology is supporting. And then I started looking into other technologies because, Azure is one thing, they pick up, I mean, from AWS, right? I mean, AWS, we know it's always be a pioneer. I mean, they do a lot of commercial and supporting, and they also have a lot of like people or industries to start with, because that's our first technology. The idea is really from the Amazon. And then the Google picked up. I mean, Google Cloud is growing so fast in the recent, at least the past 5 years. And so I had the opportunity to using our consumer-based application building on top of Google, right? Using the data lake, BigQueries, the Google Kubernetes engines, and to handling the big data. So basically, I mean, it's a no-ending journey for me. And as we it's all the way, like you keep learning, find the opportunity to apply those technologies and try to make the IT make sense and to be more agile, to adaptive, I mean, to supporting the business needs.
Totally. Wow. Thank you very much for sharing all your experience. It's really inspiring, and also I know it's impressive how many technologies and experience you have during the years. And the next question comes very good because it's related to, I mean, this experience will give you a better overview to give me an answer, which is related to the advantages of the cloud. I mean, there are so many advantages, but in your opinion, what are the biggest, so to say?
Yeah, so I think the advantage of the cloud, in my opinion now, right? I mean, we are talking about digital transformation, digital innovation, right? I think cloud really provide the foundation to support, I mean, the industries, not just a big firm, but also very small firm, right? The very good, quick way to finish, to supporting their digital transformation journey. So that's one of the biggest advantages I saw what cloud can do. For small firm, you don't need to building anything, right? Just put your account there, subscribe, and you can experience the top tiers of technologies. I mean, which in the past you never can sort about it. For smaller size companies, yeah, definitely you can really look into what you want to focus, right? What is the best cloud environment you want to leverage, and to meet your business goal, and with very minimum like starting cost. Yeah. And for big firms, of course, I mean, they can even, put in a much bigger picture, right? To see in each area regarding their digital transformation, how much, in which way they can leverage their cloud technologies. They can even go to the multi-cloud, the mixed cloud environment to learn, to experiment, and finally find the best solution to fit their needs.
Well, yeah, I mean, you gave really such a good answer that I have no comments.
Well,
but it's like this. It's like the cloud gives you the foundations to innovate, to transform, and to create yeah, new technologies, new solutions, new applications, without or forgetting about the infrastructure part, which in the past was so expensive, so difficult to maintain, so I will say so slow to create, to innovate, because you have to first to buy the hardware, to install it, to maintain it. It was like a lot of steps, and now in just 5 minutes you can just have a virtual machine and deploy your application and test the market.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely, yeah. I mean, for cloud, it's really, it's like lower the bar, right? So for you to enter, everybody, as now you want to subscribe, what level of the service you have, you want to, right? So it's very quickly for you to reach out, right? Either you leverage your infrastructure service, PaaS or SaaS system, and so it's lower the bar. So easy to get in, and then you can really focus your business needs. And we all talk about like digital transformation is all about agile, right? So how quickly your IT can support your business team group. I mean, so you can very quickly to turn the business idea into an IT solution, and then you can even run very quickly the A/B testing, right? So to quickly test out, and also cloud can provide all the way from your design to develop to implementation and to operate, and give you a full package. So you can very easily to leverage cloud to arm your IT team, and to really to provide the first tier of the service for your business.
Yeah, and that's really important. And this leads to the next question, because it's related to knowledge, to skills. Because I believe that cloud knowledge, cloud skills are going to be kind of a standard in the IT industry. Like everyone in this industry is going to need to have at least the very basic knowledge of fundamentals of the cloud to understand how it works, because of course, the on-premise and hybrid environments are going to continue like being there, because they probably always are going to be there, but the cloud is going to be a standard. And that's my opinion. I would like to know if you agree on that or not.
Yeah, so yeah, do not get it wrong. Like, I'm not saying cloud will replace everything, right? Or basically for IT, I mean, it's just, in the cloud, I mean, a lot of firms, right, they still have their on-premise, like, for instance, their finance system, right? I mean, for security reason, for performance reason, or for even for privacy reason or company policy reason, yeah, may choose to get that particular service into put it on premise. But they also they will choose using infrastructure service, or they pick up the platform service, right? I mean, it's really based on their business use case. But so the overall technology and itself, I mean, it need to be stay, right? Because of the IT, it's information technology. And you still need to think about how I store my data securely, how I make sure my information be transferred, especially over the cloud, right? I mean, be more secure, be more encrypted, and have also it's follow the data policies, right? Privacy policies, like in Europe, and GDPR still applies, doesn't matter which platform you are using. And it's even more challenging, right? Because you are building something which sounds like out of your control, because you don't own the cloud, right? Cloud is like owned by the providers. But then how would you apply your policy through your solution or application or your implementation process, right? It's really a big deal, right? That's need your IT technologies. That's need your very solid foundation to supporting that. So it's like it's a continued journey. It's a enhancement, and it's really that's why I think it's a journey. Is because you need to learn when and how to leverage your advantage of the cloud, but same time you need to focus on your IT technology and the foundations. Right? So it's a balance.
Yeah, totally. This balance, it's really the key. So changing a little bit the topic, one of the most common questions I get around is which cloud provider to use. There are a lot of factors, a lot of, this is not an easy question. This is kind of a tricky question because there is no correct answer. But what are the key factors you consider when choosing a cloud provider?
Yeah, that's always be a challenging question, right, for any cloud architect or decision makers, right? And in my opinion, yeah, to make that decision, right, it's a very unique for each industry or each organization, right? I mean, those are based on, but there's some principles, right, to support or to help you make decisions. And number one, I would think you understand briefly what's available. I mean, in the cloud, work. Right? We all know AWS, Azure, GCP, and besides those clouds, we also have other players, right? We have like in China, we have Ali Cloud, where we have Tencent, we have Baidu, and in other industry also, and even worldwide, Oracle, IBM. They're all doing some sort of the cloud, provider, right? Focus on different areas. And that's number one. Number two is like really think about what do you want to really get out of this cloud service, right? Are you really want to simplify your IT, operation support? Or are you going to leverage the cloud, platform to design some better application for your environment? Or are you going to using the cloud to do something like more fancy, right? To link maybe globally, quickly link your data, for instance. I want to collect my data globally, quickly. And in the past, it's almost impossible. And the cloud some of the service may already automatically building that service for you, right? So number two is really what's your business needs, and on top of it. Number three will be definitely what's your ROI, right? So really, what I want to get to the output from my investment, and what is my top priority from my based on my business needs, what really I want to get out of it. And with that, definitely you want to understand their cost model for each cloud providers. You want to understand your budget. You want to understand your roadmap. So in that way, you can figure out, okay, based on where I understand all the cloud providers, and then where my business model looks like, business goal looks like, and then with my current design, perspective, right? So for me, myself, yes, I used a lot of the Azure in the past and focus on a lot of like enterprise level solutions. By saying enterprise level, a lot of companies like bank or health insurance, they're building a lot of like their local policies, right? They're very sensitive about their identity, and services. Mm-hmm. So they are very serious about, accuracy of their data. So, in that, I would say Azure might be a good choice because if your ecosystem is really surrounding the Microsoft technologies, and you're building your AD service, you're building your application, right, based on those code base. And then, I mean, you should, I mean, I would take a look at the Azure services to see, hey, how do I continue to developing, implementing my IT, I mean, and the ecosystem surrounding Azure. And then if, I mean, a lot of companies that may also, they want to be fast and they want to move into the cloud world, I mean, more intuitive, I mean, right, which means like with much less effort. And also they love to leverage a lot of like open source, I mean, services. And then they would like to, I would like to recommend, okay, look into the AWS first, right? Because, I mean, you know, they are building a lot of the commercial nice application on top of the AWS. And for consumer-based or internet-based, I mean, applications or corporate, you may want to look into the GCP right now. I mean, for me, myself, in the past 2 years, I learned a lot of like GCP, I mean, as a, you know, Google Cloud, I mean, platform. And they are catching up very quickly. And also they provide very efficient computing power regarding searching, regarding query, you know, massive big data, right? So if you really want to build in some data lake and I mean, have a lot of streaming technologies, you know, as your business requirement, you may want to take a look at the GCP environment. So overall, it's really based on what do you want to get from it, right? So it's obviously challenging, and then through that you can. I would also say, hey, why don't you building a POC work? I mean, project that combine your compare benchmark each different cloud providers and proof of concept to get some, you know, basic learning, and then from there, I mean, that will help you to make better decision.
Yeah, I mean, you touch really important points. First of all, I would like to summarize it as a depending on the use case, depending on the industry, depending on the organization, but also that sometimes, or most of the times, it's more a business decision than an IT decision. Mm-hmm. Because nowadays, almost all platforms offer kind of the same services implemented in different ways, but it's almost, I would say, in general, possible to implement the same solutions in different platforms. And the next question is related to that, because you mentioned a few of them, a few cloud providers. You mentioned AWS, Asia, Oracle, IBM. There are a lot of them, and since a few years, the word multi-cloud, it's become kind of not trendy, but more adopted. I would like to know what's your opinion about that, about these approaches of multi-cloud environments.
Yeah, so yeah, I think as company to look into the cloud provider as learn more regarding each individual cloud providers, right? I mean, I think people really look into, hey, can I get all the best of each cloud and you know, have this mixed cloud? I mean, as a provider, right, to supporting the business needs, because like I mentioned earlier, right, each individual cloud has each, I mean, at some point they are doing much better than other clouds, right? Because this is based on their you know, their own cloud journey. I mean, for those providers. So I mean, as a user, right, or consumer, like cloud, I mean, client, definitely how you get all the best from all of them. That's become a very hot topic. We also see, you know, some of the industries or some of the software companies like Snowflake or other technologies, right? They're starting to try to leverage, hey, let's use in the data cloud, right? We are handling data. I mean, We are leveraging all of those different cloud environment, and we provide a service on top of that multi-cloud technology as a base. And so we saw that it's coming, and it's coming more and more. I mean, it's really, in my opinion, in the future, right? So there's a good opportunity for, for the IT world or the IT industries to building a unified cloud platform. I mean, it's just more like the admin, the client-facing environment, and then to maybe somehow combine the based cloud service on top of it. And under this, you supporting individually how to do it. But that requires the cloud providers, they need to collaborate, right? Because we all know, like between Amazon, between AWS, between Azure, and between the GCP, when we're talking about one particular feature, each one of them have it. I mean, they just have different name, or they may have different enable to implement it based on their priorities, right, or their experience. And I saw, I mean, also the industry has that, like for instance, Kubernetes, right? The different platforms have their Kubernetes supporting platforms. They're just using their different names, but the same idea, how to fast to supporting scalability, right, about those applications. Also, and Terraform is a large thing, right? I mean, different cloud provider can using those kind of JSON formatted templates to quickly to design your infrastructure, your service, I mean, configuration, and as a configuration tool. So those I saw, it's more and more, and I would imagine the unified cloud provider will be combined all the fundamental, services on top of each individual cloud provider, and so that you can deploy it to, to the physical cloud provider later on. But when you design it, you have the unified tool sets, and then it's your decision that based on your contract type, right, with those cloud providers, and you can even deploy across, I mean, the different environment, and that is also very important for a company to be, and if that global firm, they have the different local cloud provider in different regions. And then that really can help them to be more agile, right, for their cloud operation team. Then they can have one single unique design, and they just need to add a little bit customization while they deploy to the local or regional environment. I mean, because we all know, like, Azure, they have their own version in China, right? They do not have the unique version. I mean, also for different firms, different companies, they have, different regions. They may have different preference. And so that could be building a very good IT model, a cloud, I mean, operation model in the future. So, I mean, the IT solution team, they can focus on developing and implementing kind of unified cloud, I mean, solution. And then while they're doing the deployment, I mean, they can building that deployment channel or case by case, right? That's what I say, more advanced cloud DevOps, I mean, wishing in the future.
Well, that's really a very, very, very good idea. However, I see it's going to be really difficult and complicated that those companies collaborate with each other. Let's see. What I always say is today's is very important to develop cloud agnostic solutions, because with that solution you can deploy to every cloud, so to say, because you don't have that dependency. And I think that's going to be kind of the near future, because so if one cloud provider doesn't give you what you want, you can just take your solution and deploy it into other cloud provider, and there you are. You don't have that dependency. But let's continue with another question related to the cloud providers, which is basically the market cloud share. Mm-hmm. We see how huge competency there is, and we have seen also the tendency of the last years. Mm-hmm. But we also see, as you already mentioned, that there are also smaller cloud providers like Oracle, IBM, which they are not that big, but they have their own niche, and they have also their clients. How do you see the cloud market share will evolve?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, when I say cloud market share, right, I would look into two different categories, right? One is a general cloud service, right? Like Azure, GCP, AWS, they are more like considered as general business needs, right? So it doesn't matter which business environment you have. So they have that, they provide the public cloud, I mean, providers, right? I mean, that way, definitely right now, AWS is leading, but if we say the report from Microsoft this year, right? Early this year, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and their cloud revenue is growing very fast. And same thing for GCP, right? They used to, I remember 5 years ago, they maybe have 1%, 2% of that share, but now it's growing. So I would say, even you say the news, the previous, the Microsoft CEO, Pablo, right? He also, even yesterday, he suggested, hey, Microsoft should challenging AWS cloud leading role worldwide, because they say they gain more confidence and more experience by developing the cloud technology in this public cloud share. I mean, so I would say the cloud war will be getting more exciting, more, people will be, the three major the players will be, I mean, fighting each other to get more market share, more they spend more time or spend more money or more resource to building that to get advantage out of it. So it will keep growing, right? So that's what I see. Another category, it will be more like function focused. And like Oracle, right? I mean, Oracle definitely that building surrounding their Oracle database service, they're building everything surrounding that. IBM, same thing, the more become the enterprise level consulting world. They're using, I mean, they're building a lot more like, traditional ecosystem, but also they're putting a lot of efforts in their, like the quantum computing world and IBM. And also there's so many vertical industries, they may have their preference, right? Because in the past, because when you think about cloud adaptation, right, you have to think about what is each individual, industry, their IT ecosystem was building come from. And because in a way, I mean, the cloud journey is not one day you switch everything to the cloud. You have to think about the entire way. So when I talk about cloud strategy, I more think about it's your data transformation strategy, because for any IT, it's all about how you collecting your data, how you get your data, I mean, carry into a place, store it, and then how do you leverage your data, right? So for it doesn't matter which type of business you are in. So that's all my like data centricity or data driven design. So those data collection, I mean, in the past always be their ecosystem. I mean, which is growing maybe in the past 30, 40, even 50 years. And so it's not a one day work. You have to, okay, you can switch to a cloud and everything's done. It is never been that easy. So that's why data migration, your technical migration, cloud migration, and a hybrid environment how do you gradually switch your IT focus, I mean, from your on-premise to the cloud? It's really a journey. I mean, also it's really will be cross industry. So industry vertical wise, they have their own ecosystems, and then what's the best solution you can use in that particular cloud providers? It always be, I mean, you have to look into it, see which one can give you the better or cheaper solution.
Really exciting, and I see your passion about this topic. I really like that. Yeah, let's change a little bit the topic. Let's talk now a little bit more about China, because we have seen how fast the cloud market in China is growing. Not only the China market, I'm talking more especially about the cloud market in China, because the cloud, it's been adopted, well, 66 or 64% more than last year. So that's a huge increase. And it looks like that's the tendency, and it's going to grow and grow every year. So I would like to know your opinion about that, because it's a huge market. There are also new players in that market, like Alibaba Cloud or Tencent Cloud. How do you see this market is going to evolve during the future?
Yeah, so yeah, I think China is developing their IT. It's developing much faster, right? People work harder over there, and there's a lot of smart people there, and they're collecting the top talents worldwide, right? So I think a lot of like cloud experts got the opportunity talking to them, right? At least they want to. I mean, personally, I have been reached by Huawei, by Tencent, I mean, by Ali in the past, right? Because they want to. I had this conversation with them, and it is amazing to see how fast, they grow. I mean, their cloud service was growing. I mean, to give you an example, the Tmall is one of the top, online shopping tool in China. I mean, and run by Ali.
Yeah.
And it's one day, just 24 hours, the sales, I mean, tons of the generated that revenue online sales revenue, right? I mean, I mean, just to supporting that, your cloud computing service, the security, the scalability, agility, the IT cloud operation, I mean, capability, it's a foundation. So, I mean, so that proves, I mean, now a lot of like leading cloud provider like Ali and Tencent, they are on top of the like world-class, I mean, cloud provider. But I mean, their focus is very limited, right? So, and also in the historical reason, or I mean, it's a little bit hard for them to because I mean different countries have different policies, right? so they got get like limited for if they want to grow in, for instance, in U.S. world, right? You see, a couple of years ago, right? Ali, Tencent, Huawei, they're building their research center in U.S. But now you see much less position were open, right? Because I mean there are some political reasons, right? I mean, but from the technical perspective, I would see the future war. I mean, especially for these three top giant public cloud providers. I mean, they noticed, and of course, I mean, how fast the other smaller sized cloud provider are growing, and in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, I would say like the Tencent, the Ali, Huawei, they're growing. I mean, they because they have the business needs there, and they got some support. And I would hope in the future, right? I mean, as a pure consumer, right? I mean, you have the freedom to choose whatever cloud provider you can pick to support your business, right? So by that time, kind of a dream, right? I mean, it's like, hey, let's use the best out of it. And then on the same side, I mean, the providers will be working more focused on the quality of their service. And then everybody, I mean, will get benefit from that.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. The competency is very, very good for the user, for the client, for the end user. And yeah, that's going to be very, very important. And I'm really, from my personal opinion and perspective, I'm very excited about to see how these Chinese cloud providers and the China market evolves during the next years. I see there a huge potential. Yeah. So just the last two questions. We are running out of time. So very, very fast. I would like you to share with us which is one of the latest things that you learned about cloud. Can be a strategic, a tool, a service, I don't know, something related with the cloud.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. I mean, as a guy working with cloud, I mean, day in, day out, yeah, definitely. Every day I'm learning, right? So one thing I was learning, I mean, very recently is it's not recently, but I really put a lot of work into it to look into it. Is really one of the kind of like the big computing and big data computing. So we were handling a lot of like data, right? I mean, at database, and the data becoming, so how fast you can collecting, you can computing, and it's really become challenging for our business. And so I spent a lot of time to look into even cross the cloud computing performance, and also the data providers, I mean, the tool providers, right? I mean, which is, I look really deep into the BigQuery in GCP and comparing with, you know, the data lake, I mean, on Azure, I mean, the computing power. And I even look into a structure, I mean, the data structure, how best, I mean, each different technology can handle the data schemas, right? So I look into the graph database, I mean, particularly, I mean, recently, like GNS, I mean, the cloud, I mean, the graph database on the GCP cloud, and then definitely Cosmos DB. I mean, that's a larger cloud-based database in Azure, and to compare, I mean, really, hey, which one can meet our particular, you know, consumer data profile needs. I mean, to building a consumer-related ID graph. So, like I said, it's always business related, right? So you have to put your top business requirement and what is the top feature you want to achieve, and then you can, using that business need or the top business requirement, to convert into whatever technology you are picking. And then you do some POC and get some learning from it, right? So I'm kind of exciting to, you know, working in these areas. I mean, by using the cloud services, you can really relatively work quickly to using your technologies, using those cloud services. I mean, without, you know, worry too much about, you know, license, you know, implementation, building up from scratch, those type of things. But then you can quickly directly to say, hey, how I want to, I'm building my schema on top of this, you know, graph database, I mean, providers.
Oh, really, really interesting topic. I'm sure that you are learning a lot of technical topics related to that. But we have to almost we are almost over. So let's go to the last question, which is related to information, because there is a lot of information out there about cloud, and sometimes it's difficult to choose which sources to use. So I will be very happy if you share with us which sources do you use to keep yourself up to date.
To learn, you mean to learn the cloud?
Yes.
Yeah, so usually I would, first I would go to, the corporate side, right? AWS, Azure, GCP, they all have better or very good documentation libraries, right? That's usually my first place to look. And because they give you, from the corporate wise, they give you some feedback. And for people like really, sometimes I want to go deeper, right? I would usually try to build in a connection with their product team, because only if you go to the product team, you can really understand and go deeper, right? Because they can even share their roadmap, their design, which may not be publicly available yet, right? So building that connection through sometimes your conference or through their website, their blog, right? To subscribe to their blog. Those are very good approach to reach out to get a firsthand, the background and the information. So, and for learning perspective, sometimes if you are really a new cloud, adapter, I would suggest you maybe go through some of their certificate process. That could be a big thing, because it's not just get that, search, right? The search does not really mean too much, but just you went through that process, you go through each single cloud areas, which is required for you to fully understand cloud, right? So, and then you can learn and you can be more complete. And because with that complete understanding of the cloud, that gives you much confidence to either make decisions or to pick up what you will do next with cloud service.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's been a pleasure for me having you here. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, your experience, your opinion. Really appreciate it. I have really learned a lot. I will watch this episode again to get all this information that you gave. And thank you very much again.
Hey, thank you. I would take this opportunity to thank you. And also, because of the cloud, I think even we are in the COVID-19, this very tough every moment, everybody can still working from home, can contribute, especially in the IT area, right? So cloud will have the big future.
Totally agree. That's a very good sentence to finish this podcast. Thank you very much again, Michael, and for the listeners. See you in the next podcast.
Thank you.